IV. Babette, who is the best marksman in Vale. The deer knew that and said to each other, and quote, "Hey, be very careful when meeting Rudy." And quote, "Who is the most handsome hunter in the area?" The young girls replied, and quote, "Oh, that and number 39, Rudy." And quote, "But they didn't and #39, add the sentence, and quote, watch out for him." And quote, "And even the strictest mothers wouldn't and #39, say that, because he was so polite to them, and so cheerful, lively, and adorable. Tanned cheeks, white teeth, eyes as black as jet beads. What a handsome guy. He did not feel the cold when swimming in streams or cold alpine lakes. He jumped up and down like a fish. No one is as skillful at climbing as you. He can crawl up steep rocky mountainsides like slugs. How come you and number 39 so good at dancing?" Truly he did honor to his cat and deer professors. Rudy became the best guide in the area. If you keep doing that job, you can make a fortune. His uncle and number 39's job as a barrel maker was passed down to him, but he didn't and #39 like it at all. His hobby and joy is deer hunting, which also makes money. So Rudy is a good bunch. The girls who dance with him dream of him at night. During the day, she only thinks about him. Annette, the monk and number 39's daughter, told her best friend, and quote, "He kissed me while dancing." And quote, "But she really shouldn't and #39 talk about it, even with this close friend. It and number 39's difficult to keep such secrets secret." It was like grains of sand in a bag with holes leaking out everywhere, and soon, no matter how decent and loyal Rudy was, people said that he often kissed girls while dancing. In fact, those kisses were only one that he gave to Annette, but she was not the person he loved. In the lower area, near the town of Betch, in the middle of a large mound, next to a fast-flowing river, there is the house of a rich miller. His house was big and beautiful, 3 stories high, with leaded roofs that sparkled in the sunlight or moonlight. On the largest hut there is an orange-shaped pinwheel with an arrow through it to commemorate Guyam 10. The mill looks very spectacular and also looks rich. Artists come here to paint. But no one can express in a painting the graceful grace of the miller and number 39's daughter. That and number 39's Rudy and number 39's opinion. Anyway, the image of the young girl was engraved deeply into his heart. One look from the beautiful Babette suddenly burned his soul like a bunch of tinder that instantly caused a fire. The strange thing is that the beautiful girl, the miller and number 39's daughter, did not expect anything. She and Rudy never exchanged a word. The rich father and the beautiful girl were considered noble because of their wealth, so it was difficult to get close to them. Rudy said to himself, and quote, "After all, no one can climb so high that they can and number 39's be touched. Just know how to climb, and no matter how steep the slope is, never fall. As long as you don and number 39's believe you and number 39's fall." End quote. We see the guy always remembers the lesson the cat learned at his grandfather and number 39's house. One day, Rudy had to go to Buck. It was a whole trip. At that time, the railway was still far from finished. Rudy followed a long valley with a meandering strip of the Ron River. While flowing through it, there was a dangerous stream of water, always ready to overflow, destroying fields and homes. Past Zion, the valley turns sharply and becomes increasingly narrower. Near St. Morit, there is only enough room for the river and the main road to pass. A little closer, there stood an ancient tower. That looked like a sentinel guarding the border of Vale at the end there. Cross a bridge and enter Vaud district. The first town we meet is Betch. The valley opened up again, fertile and beautiful, looking like a garden full of pecans and chestnuts. Here and there were patches of pomegranates and cypresses. The climate was warm and pleasant, as if it were in Italy. Rudy went to Bach. After finishing his work, he walked around the mill area but did not meet anyone. He could N&39 find any trace of Babette. What an unfortunate thing. In the afternoon, the air was filled with the scent of musk and flowering cypress. The moonlight seems to be filled with the scent of spring, spreading a thin veil over the green mountain peaks. All around it was quiet, but not the silence of sleep or death. People feel like the Creator has woken up, holding his breath to serve as a model for an angel painter who wants to portray his image against the blue sky. Here and there, in the middle of the fields, there were large poles supporting telegraph lines running through the quiet valley. A motionless object was seen leaning against one of those electric poles, which one could easily mistake for a dry log. That was Rudy, as silent as the scenery, although he was neither sleeping nor dead. Just as the announcement of events did not cause the rope to vibrate or make a sound, so did the intense thoughts that ran through Rudy and number 39's brain, his appearance revealing nothing to anyone. I can guess your thoughts. Only what you are thinking about can bring happiness to your life and will bother you every hour and every minute. His eyes stared at one point, a small ray of light sparkling in the canopy of trees. That ray of light came from Miss Babette and number 39's room, in the Miller and number 39's house. Looking at Rudy standing so still and silent, people would think he was stalking a deer. But right now he is prey rather than a hunter. He was like a deer, standing on the top of a rock, as if carved into the mountain, suddenly hearing the sound of a falling rock, jumping up and disappearing. That and number 39's what Rudy was like. Another thought crossed his mind. He suddenly stirred and said to himself, and quote, "Never back down. Never be disappointed. Just risk going into the mill. Hello boss, hello Miss Babbitt. Is it gay to say that? When you believe you won and number 39's fall, I can and number 39's fall. If I and number 39's am destined to be Babette and number 39's husband, I have to let her see me first." And quote, he walked away, filled with courage. He clearly saw his desire to marry Babette. He walked along the banks of the roaring yellow river, along the path with willows hanging their branches into the water, to the mill owner and number 39's house. But just like in the old song, and quote, the whole family is gone, only the cat remains and quote. In fact, there was only the cat lying on the steps, in front of the door. It bent its back and cried, and quote, meow, and quote. But Rudy could no longer understand the animals and number 39's voices. He knocked on the door, no one heard, no one opened the door. The cat cried again, and quote, meow. Dot. Meow. Dot. And quote. In the past, Rudy could immediately understand, And quat. No one is home. And quat. Now I have to go to the mill to ask how things are going. There, people said that the boss went on a trip, as far as Interlaken. Babette went with him. They went to watch the shooting competition, which opened the next day and lasted 8 days, and the marksmen of all German generals would gather here. Poor Rudy. You came to Betch at the wrong time. Let and number 39 go back. And he did it obediently. He walked all night to get home. But do you know? He was not sad. The next morning he was back to being as cheerful as before, or to be more precise, that quality had never left him. He thought to himself, and quat. So Babette goes to Interlaken, a few days from here, yes, if we follow the main road. But if we take the shortcut through the mountain, it will be faster. That is the path for workers. And quat. Deer hunting. I passed that road once when I was a child, when I was at my grandfather and number 39's house and went there. Ah! And there and number 39's a shooting competition in Interlaken. Then I and number 39's be the champion knight, and once we get to know each other he will also be a knight in Babette and number 39's heart. He took his luggage, put on his holiday clothes, put on his gun and hunting bag, and crossed the mountain following the shortest route. This morning and number 39's competition had just begun and was still going on. For another week. They had told him that during those 8 days the master would be staying at his relative and number 39's house in Interlaken. So there should not be a minute and number 39's delay. Rudy crossed the Gemmi mountain to Gorendenven. He walked on. Brisk and cheerful, the fresh air of the Alps gave him strength. He saw the valley descending lower and lower behind him, the horizon expanding. Here a snowy mountain appeared, there another. At last he saw before him all a row of pure white alpine peaks. He knows all the tops. He aimed at Mount Sorashok, which was pointing straight to the sky like a giant finger covered in snow. He crossed the peaks on the road and approached the meadows in the valley, where he had lived as a child. The gentle air made his soul light-headed. Mountains and valleys are filled with bright green flowers and leaves. Rudy and number 39's heart felt all the excitement of youth. Inner voices rang out to him, and quat. People never grow old. Let and number 39's enjoy life happily, live freely like birds in the sky. Let and number 39's fly to places where pleasure is calling us. And quat. He saw his beloved swallows always singing, and quat. Viak I, ooci, oocv and quat. Everyone was bustling and happy. Below, the grassland spread out like a carpet of green velvet. Here and there are dark wooden houses. People heard the roaring sound of the water of the Lysen River. Rudy again saw the glaciers, the emerald icebergs, the empty ravines. The church bells rang as if welcoming him back. His heart swelled with fond memories of his childhood. The image of Babette disappeared for a moment from his mind. He was walking on the same old road where when he was a child he sold to tourists the small wooden houses carved by his grandfather. Oh! Poor Grandpa! The old man and number 39's house is up there, among the pine trees. Someone else has come to stay. The children ran to sell him toys. One of them offered him an alpine rose. He took it and took it as a good omen. At that moment, he was thinking about Babette again. He walked quickly down the mountain, crossing the bridge at the junction of two branches of the Lützen River. He left the pine forest. There are fruit trees everywhere, both sides of the road are full of shady pecan trees. Finally, he saw many flags fluttering in the wind. The Swiss flag, like the Danish flag, had a white cross on a red background. Interlaken was in front of him. To him, it was a beautiful town unique in the world, decorated for the festival. These are not a bunch of black, heavy, large and solemn houses, but rather cheerful wooden houses, arranged flexibly. There are 2 rows of the most beautiful houses that have just been built. Last time Rudy came to Interlaken, there were no such rows. Each beautiful house has a balcony running around all 4 sides. The wood used to make the house is carved very beautifully. Both the window frames and the roof edges jutting out into the flower-filled garden, separating the flowers from the street, are similarly carved. Behind, runs large, green lawns, on which herds of cows are grazing. The sound of bells hanging from their necks echoes far away. On all sides, high mountains tightly hug the valley, except in the middle, which is open, allowing us to see on the horizon the Jungfrau, the Queen of the Alps, in all its splendor. Men and women from all over the world came in large numbers. How dressed up they are! Look at that group of Swiss men and women, coming back from the cantons, wearing beautiful and colorful clothes. How pleasing to the eyes! Every house hangs flags from top to bottom, decorated with paintings and funny sayings. Everywhere is so bustling. Everywhere there is the sound of singing and singing, music emanating from handheld accordions and troops of busking musicians. In addition, there were joyful shouts and "Enquat, wa-ra and quat" calls in the crowd. Amidst that noise, people heard the steady sound of guns firing. It was the most soothing music for Rudy. It made him forget Babette, even though it was because of her that he had come here. The marksmen hurriedly crowded together towards the shooting targets, each wearing a number on his hat, and a wreath of oak leaves wrapped around him. Rudy quickly joined them. He is the best and luckiest shooter, not shooting a single shot outside the black spot. Around him people whispered, "And Quat? Who is this strange young hunter? He speaks French, probably from Vale." "And Quat," others said, "And Quat. He even speaks fluent German with our accent. It sounds like he lived somewhere near here when he was a child, in Gorendenven." And Quat, that young man was so full of life, his eyes were bright and sparkling, he looked very confident and his hands were very steady. Happiness made him braver, and Rudy was already a courageous person. Soon, a circle of fans surrounded him. People praised him and loudly flattered him. In fact, Babette had almost completely disappeared from his mind. Suddenly a heavy hand hit his shoulder and someone asked him in French with a difficult voice, "And Quat? Are you in Vale? And Quat?" Rudy turned around and saw a large man with a cheerful face. It was the rich mill owner from Betch. His fat body covered up the beautiful Babette. She passed him and walked towards the young man, looking at him with her beautiful, sharp, dark eyes. This rich villager was delighted because a hunter from the same hometown was the best shot and won many of the highest awards. He felt happy and gloated as if he could share that honor. Sure enough, Rudy was lucky. The people for whom he had come to Interlaken and when he arrived he had forgotten them had now come to him. The two sides started talking to each other and became intimate immediately. As Rudy promised himself, he is now the champion knight of the shooting competition. The mill owner in Betch was the most respected man because he was rich and had the most beautiful mill. That and number 39's why they shook hands in a friendly way, which they had never done before. Beautiful Babette also kindly offered her hand to Rudy. He held her hand tightly and looked at her so that she blushed shyly. The miller recounted that he and his daughter had just gone on a journey, and he talked about the great cities they had seen. They traveled in carriages, trains and ships. Rudy said, "And quote, I took a shorter route, a shortcut through the mountain. If I wanted to, the mountain wouldn't and -39 t be so high that I could n and -39 t climb it." And quote, the mill owner said, "But it and number 39's also possible to fall and break your neck. You look reckless, and that and number 39's the case." Rudy replied, "Anyone who doesn't and -39 t think about falling will never fall." The relative whom the miller came to visit was also from Vale, so he was very pleased to invite Rudy. He was lucky, as are all confident people. Rudy sat in that house like a member of the family. People raised their glasses to congratulate him on his glorious achievement, and Babette also clinked glasses with him. Rudy felt extremely happy. In the afternoon, everyone went out to play in the streets, under the rows of large pecan trees, in front of the magnificent hotels. Taking advantage of the crowd of people jostling together, Rudy held out his arm to Babette and she took it. Rudy could n and -39 t suppress the joy that was evident on his face. In order to freely express his joy freely, he said that the reason he was so happy was because he had just met his best friends. He appeared so innocently and completely satisfied that Babette felt compelled to squeeze his hand to congratulate him. They walked like a couple who had known each other for a long time. The beautiful girl is very happy and mischievous. She pleased Rudy the most when she showed Rudy the excessive and ridiculous attire of the foreign ladies and when she imitated their stylish gait. She continued, "And quote, anyway, we shouldn't and -39 t laugh at them too much because there are very good, lovely and kind people among them." And quote, she said that her godmother was a very noble English lady, who had been in Bethel 18 years before, when Babette was born. The gold brooch that is currently on her head was given to her. The godmother wrote twice to tell Babette to come to Interlaken this year to play with her and her daughters who were old but unmarried. The adoptive mother and number 39's children were under 30 years old, and Babette was 18. Then that beautiful mouth did not stop for a moment, and everything Babette rambled on was of utmost importance to Rudy. Finally, it was his turn to express what he wanted to say. How many times had he been to Betch? He knows the mortar very well. How many times had he seen Babette, and of course she had never paid attention to him. Just now, he had come to her house, with countless thoughts that he had to keep secret in his heart. He learned that she and her father had traveled quite a distance, but also by crossing the Alps. He told her all that and more. He described to her the ecstasy of being with her. It was only because of her that he came to Interlaken, not to see the festival. Babette became completely quiet. Perhaps the confessions were beyond what she could understand. While they talked like that, the sun set and disappeared behind the high mountains. Jungfrau Mountain shines brightly in the middle of a dark red sky. Around there, lush green mountains line up in tiers. The crowd stopped to admire the glorious sight. Babbitt looked at that wonderful picture and said, "And quot. There is no such wonder anywhere." "And quot," Rudy replied. "And quot. Yes, nowhere. And quot." Looking intently at the young woman, he added, "And quot. I have to leave tomorrow." "And quot," Babette whispered, "and quot. Please come and visit us in Bethel, that would certainly please my father." And quot. Continue reading Ice Goddess Part 5. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.